Hi, it is Melanie, and I am here to make an NPC with you. Today we're going to make two NPCs, and we're going to make a pair of characters in a story that you're telling in your tabletop role-playing game. And this is for anyone to use. Do what you will with it. Take what you want, or just be entertained, hopefully, by it. What I do is I use technically three different tools to make characters. And so what I'm using is tarot deck. This tarot deck is the Nova Witch Tarot. I'm also using cards from the Storytelling Archive, or the Storytelling, is it Archive? Storytelling, the Story Engine. Good Lord, I should get this right. You know, I'll flash something on the screens here when I do this, when I make these mistakes. But I'm using two different things. One is the Deck of Worlds, and this is an extension for that set of cards. And the second one is the Lore Tellers. I think it's the Lore Tellers deck. The Deck of Worlds obviously is for world building. It's cards that I'll show you in a minute that have different prompts, brainstorming. And the Lore Tellers deck has more cards that can help you fill out your world with factions and characters and objects and different things with different properties. And so we're going to create a couple of NPCs today. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick two cards. I'm going to set this here because I'm going to use that to prop up our two characters. All right. And you know what? They're going to be these two right next to each other in my deck. All right, so we have the Knight of Wands, and we have the Wheel of Fortune. So here are these two cards. I do love this deck. It is very cool. Here are why do I have such trouble with my direction and my mirroring? All right, so we have the Wheel of Fortune and the Knight of Wands. Those are the two different characters that we're going to be working with. And so looking at these two, boy, to me, Knight of Wands, you know, when you have the card in tarot, Knight of Wands is a very energetic suit. It's usually a suit of fire. It's about your passions, or, you know, your big projects you want to work on. It could be about your kids. I mean, if that's your passion, is being a mom or dad, that could be what, you know, the suit is about. The Knights are the go-getters. The Knights are very active, and they're the ones that are always looking for the goal. They always have a really big goals with the Knight of Wands. So maybe the Wands is somebody that asks the party for help in your role-playing game, and maybe it is somebody that goes along with them. Who knows? You know, they might end up going with your party. That might be fun. And the Wheel of Fortune, I feel like the Wheel of Fortune, boy, maybe it literally is a fortune teller that you have in your game. Like an oracle of some kind. I feel like it's an oracle. And I'm wondering if it's at the beginning where you pick up your Knight of Wands character, or if it's somebody you run into. I feel like it's somebody you run into. But do you know what the thing is going to be? This oracle and this Knight of Wands have a past. And I think that's where we're going to come into. I have to move this because there's a mirror on it, and I keep seeing my face. And it's distracting me. Like, who's that over there? All right, so these are the two characters we have. All right, so let's see which cards we want to use to find out more about them. There is a figure card in the Lore Tellers deck. Well, there's also a faction card. That's interesting. Let's start with a figure card. So I'm going to start with one. And the way these cards work is they have a simple description on one side, and on the other side they'll have things like traits and backgrounds if you want something deeper. So here on the single word side is disciple, smith, bookbinder, or educator. And that was the card we had last time. So, educator, smith, maybe he's a smith, or disciple. I don't feel like I'm getting really disciple energy from this yet. Or a bookbinder would be really cool, actually. Actually, you know what, a bookbinder would be cool if you make it like somebody who makes spell books. Like, you know, maybe this is an apprentice spell book maker. And So here, and that's interesting because one of the reasons I wanted to do two characters is to figure out a natural tension that could help you create story from it and get your characters involved. And so I'm already seeing that there could be a natural tension with, somebody who believes I can make all the magic I need. I just need to know the right spells. I need to write them down and do the work, and I can absolutely do all this stuff on my own. Versus somebody who gets their magic from an unknown place. Maybe they don't know how they are able to divine the future, and maybe that's something that is a point of conflict between them. And then maybe people in your party will take sides on that, and that's going to be kind of a thing that you have going through this. Maybe these two end up being both people that come along with your party, and that would be interesting, because then it could be whatever you're in. And this question of, innate magic versus studied magic, could be kind of a through point, a theme in your game. So I actually am going to make him a bookbinder. I like that. He is a spell bookbinder. You know what? We're going to pick a figure card for her too. Let's see. And you notice I didn't even look at the other side. I'm not going to. Look how strong I am. Okay. So our options on this figure card are liaison, interesting, inspector, poet, or a defender. Interesting. I really like, this is interesting. Because, poet probably would be a default that you would think, because let's face it, when you think about an oracle or a diviner, you think about a woman. And so you think about somebody who is going to be a poet. They're not going to be, an aggressive go-getter if they're a diviner. But what if they're a defender? So what if they are the equivalent of, like in D&D, has paladins and clerics? What if it's the equivalent of that, like in Daggerheart, I think they're guardians? What if it's somebody like that? And the premonitions that they get are, something that maybe they try to hide. Maybe they don't know why this is happening to them. I'd like to explore that. Yes, I'm going to look this time. I'm going to look at what's back here. Extreme optimist or pessimist. See, the thing is, I almost don't like looking at the back when I find one I like in the front, because you can't really use both sides at the same time. I have also still considered putting Post-its in there so that if I come up with one that I need to really add to something, I can write it down. But extreme optimist or pessimist, caused the death of a notable figure, develop a new way to make or source material, or intense eyes or gaze. Which, that would even be cool. That maybe when they see, one of their visions, like their eyes change, and you can tell they're having a vision because something about their eyes change. I kind of like that. We might keep that. See, this is where we're gonna put defender down there now, but we're gonna know in our heart that their eyes change. Okay, what else do we got here? An event. Here's maybe an event that brings these people to you. There is a sundering, revenge, a proclamation, or a comet. Comet is a lot. Birth of the first immortal. Catalyst. Settlement of location. Lost game or bet. Predicted by a faction or figure. Well, you gotta go with that one. It was predicted. And so we have, although this could be where the faction comes in. Because maybe this defender is part of a faction. Let's pull a faction card. I like that. I think that is this. All right, so here we go. Let's pull one of those. Okay, so here's our faction card. It is a unity, a fandom, a panel, a troop, and this is TROOP, troop, like a military. And here we have an agenda for this faction is create a new game. Trait is they're experts at crafting a specific kind of tool. Another trait could be known for open-mindedness, or a background could be co-founded by best friends. Interesting. So I could see it being this faction being co-founded by these two. It's currently being run by maybe this one, while this one goes off trying to find, learn magic a different way. Maybe it was like a magical guild that they started. and they went different ways with their magic. You know, the more that this character became divinely inspired, the less tolerant they were of, you know, finding magic in the usual ways. They wanted to, because, here we go, because they felt so lost. And this would be things that you know as a GM that you wouldn't tell your players necessarily right away. It would be something that they get out of the character. So that maybe the reason that he is dismissing the book learning is because he sees support out there. He sees universities and colleges and schools for magic through book learning. But he does not see support for people who are innately magic. You know, maybe this is in D&D, that's like a sorceress trait that is this, you know, is where this came from. And maybe sorcery is not a big thing in this world. I don't know. Originally I didn't like any of these in this card, but now I kind of like that it was co-founded by best friends. I'm going to put that under our bookbinder because I feel like our Knight of Wands bookbinder is going to be the character that your players meet first. And then I feel like they're going to get to that. Maybe that'll change as we go, but that's what I'm going to do first. And what else do we have? There is object. There is event. Let's do an event. There is a purge, an eclipse, interesting, a plot, or a rift. You know what? Actually, you know, I'm leaning heavily on the Lore Teller's deck for this one, but I'm going to sideline this one for a second because I want to find a name. You know, I talked about that this faction was co-founded by best friends, but I didn't really talk about it. Like, what is, I called it a guild, but I want to find a namesake for this guild. So I'm going to go to our deck of worlds, and let's see if we can find a namesake. And so this is going to be, when you combine this, the namesake card, you combine it with, I think it's usually a figure card, or, oh, usually it's naming a location. Let's try another faction card then, and see if, yeah, because we could caucus, estate, creed, or regiment. Caucus is very egalitarian, so we would do the caucus that hums, caucus of statues, caucus of healing, or the masterless caucus. Oh, interesting. The masterless caucus. Because maybe people were only used to getting magic through a warlock, through pacts. And so they're promoting that you can get magic through book learning. Maybe that was how they started, but now they're kind of going, well, there's also innate magic. You know, that's a thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put masterless up at the top here, and it's going to modify the caucus. And actually, now I'm going to move this card down to modify the caucus, now that we have a name. So it's going to be like the masterless caucus of, and now it makes sense, I think, that we get a location for this. And each of these decks has a location card. Well, actually, this has origin and region. Let's do origin, because I think origin was a more thematic rather than an actual location. Form a military superpower, shaped by tectonic activity, created or given as a gift, founded by a repentant criminal. Okay, don't like any of those? We're not doing that one. I decided. All right, so let's go to, well, actually, let's try, no, region I think is just a twofer, right? The region is just, the region is just singular. All right, we're going to go over to location. All right, see if our location can inspire the name of this caucus, or like the location where it is. There's catacombs. Oh, catacombs, interesting. Lounge, villa, or flatlands. And let's look at this trait. Currently experiencing a crisis or event, full of a domesticated creature, physically connected to another location, requires guides to reach or navigate. I feel like this is going to be catacombs. Maybe that's where they end up. Maybe that's where their gathering spot ends up, because they can't find any place else. Because it's, you know, you're in the land of warlocks, the world of warlocks. World of warlocks. Maybe that's what this one's called. And you're the outliers in that. So they're catacombs. So now we can go and figure out where those catacombs are. So this is how we expand our world. So we're going to look at the region, see, and this is one where we pull 2 and pick 1. Hopefully it's not city again like we got the last time. All right, tell me what it is. We have a scree or a rainforest. Interesting. A scree, if you know what a scree is, it's like very desertified, all rocky, I think, isn't it? Where I always associate scree with falling rocks. And then a rainforest. Catacombs, well, you'd probably find ancient catacombs in a scree. So we're going to put that there. All right. So let's see. And then I think we've got a landmark. Maybe there's a landmark above this. There's a clearing or a plaza. So maybe, excuse me, maybe a clearing. Well, scree is going to be pretty clear. It's going to be out in the desert. So it's going to be like ancient land that, you know, maybe got inundated by a flood and then all the water's dried up and this is what's left. And they find this plaza, kind of how, like, you know, they found at, you know, where they'll find in ancient Greece, they'll find, or like Pompeii. You know, in Pompeii, they uncover it and they find these ancient, you know, mosaics on the floor and stuff. Maybe there's a big plaza they found. And they said, oh, that's interesting, but underneath it was the catacombs. And maybe these folks, that's where their hideout is. Cool, I like that. All right, I know we've got object, creature. Interesting, we could get creatures involved, or an object, or that's a descriptor. Let's maybe see if we can get some of these descriptors to describe these two, because I'm kind of moving to the world, but we haven't really fleshed out our characters yet. And maybe, you know, and maybe that's the thing. Maybe I leave these open, and you guys can flesh them out as you like. All right, we've got sunken, traditional, meticulous, or textured. And the other side we have ferocious, gracious, burnished, and absorbent. So I feel like either ferocious or gracious is going to have a thing here. Meticulous. Meticulous, I bet, would describe our bookbinder. You know, and maybe that's the thing, is they think that, you know, their spells and everything can be more powerful the more meticulous they are. I mean, yay for OCD. It's going to be as I said, a feature, not a flaw. All right, feature, not a bug. Okay, so let's pick another one and see if we can get something for our divinatory friend. Well, look at what's on this one, folks. The word clairvoyant. I mean, let me see if there's anything else. Imposing, pacifistic, pragmatic, skittish, merciless, depleted, illuminated. Now, actually, the word merciless is interesting. But I kind of feel like these two, clairvoyant and pragmatic. I mean, maybe the clairvoyant is the hidden one. You know, you put out, so what I would do with this card is I would actually put it like this, so that the default that people see is pragmatic. But, you know, the thing that not everybody sees is the clairvoyance. Wow, that's nice. Okay, I think we did pretty good here. Let's see, we could try, I have tried in the past to come up with, what was I looking for? Oh, an event. I was going to do this event card, which I set aside. All right. So there was plot, rift, purge, or eclipse. And in the back they have a catalyst or a fallout, romance and or rivalry between two figures. I think that's what we got. An infamous apology from Fallout Catalyst, one moment of inattention, and a trait nicknamed after a creature or location. I mean, I think, see, this is what happens when you're a tarot reader. You try to imagine something. The cards work with you. Rivalry between two figures. That's this right here. All right, so we're going to actually put this right up here because that's those two. I really like our little setup here. I think it has a lot of different directions you could go. And that is one thing about leaving it open, is leaving these two characters a little bit more open, is that you now have a way to really take this and flavor it with whatever your particular game is doing, which I think is really fun. So, oh, you know what? How long has it been? It's been 20 minutes. Good Lord. Okay, each of these is going to be half hour. I'm going to go, we're just going to call it now. Half hour is going to be my thing. But what I was thinking is I could grab a couple cards from some of these expansion decks and just add one little bit of flavor to it in different worlds. So we're going to pull from Worlds of Myth and Magic, is what this one is for the deck of worlds. And so inside here, there's going to be types of each of those kind of cards. Okay, and so inside there, you can see there are some of each different kind of card. So let's see what our advent for Myth and Magic would be for this. People are losing their ability to speak due to censorship, illness, or magic. Oh, interesting. That could be, something magic that, came from one of his books. Or vile monsters have invaded a once sacred space, a grove, temple, or vision. There we go. Maybe that's our inciting incident, that something comes to this plaza. Maybe something comes from under the earth, since they're in the catacombs, and upsets everything. I'm going to give you a closer view of that. So that is an example of a fantasy world option. So now, let's take the sci-fi. This is military or sci-fi. And I'm just realizing I gotta put a card up here so I don't lose my place. There we go. Oh, I hate this. Yeah, I'm gonna rip it. Shit. Okay. All right. Okay, so this one opens like this. Yes, I did rip it. All right. So once again, we have our little sheet. Let's see, that was an aspect card, conflict. Let's try conflict. A past atrocity will go unpunished. A past atrocity will come to light. So this usually modifies, I believe it modifies aspects. No. What was the other one I just did? Anchor. Oh, this is from the story engine. This is the deck that I don't have. So these are story engine cards. They have completely different, set of cards. So they've got an agent, an engine, an anchor, conflict, or an aspect. And they are very much, you can tell just by, they're very much story things. Okay, so I should not start with the conflict because that's a modifier. Engine, they want, and these are very much more integrated. So they want to topple occupied, there we go. They want to topple an occupied, we have breach, galaxy, a terraformer, or a drive. They want to topple an occupied galaxy? That's big. I don't think it's too big. I'm going to pull a different one. A mutiny, an ore, a refinery, an asteroid, an occupied asteroid. There we go. An agent, civilian, a pacifist, a negotiator, or a liaison. The pacifist, that makes sense to me. Let's see what colors did I get. I don't think, see now I need the conflict. But they will be stripped of their rank, but their superior will get away with something heinous. Ooh, that's dramatic. But a dangerous operation will get greenlit, but their cover will be blown. Well, that makes sense. So what we have here is, the inciting, so if you make this your, if you make this a sci-fi, would the bookbinder then be a computer geek who's putting together programs or an AI that will be able to do magic or helps them do magic, or what people consider magic, and maybe the Wheel of Fortune person is the pacifist who's trying to stop what's happening on this world where the bookbinder is. Maybe this split happened a while ago. That's a completely different story. From the other one you're telling. Isn't that interesting? All right, so there are a couple of options that we had with our little game. Once again, I will take a picture of our little spread here so that you can all see how they lay out. All right, well, thanks for joining me. I had a great time. We'll see you later. Join me again.